A majority of Republican voters across the country believe that the election was stolen from Donald Trump. This ridiculous exercise in Arizona is their best source of hope for believing that. And it is crazy enough to be looking in at that from across the country, knowing that this is the long, weird tale of the last presidency. But from close up, covering it from Arizona, it's definitely even crazier. Joining us now is Jared McDonald-Evoy. He's a reporter at the Arizona Mirror. His coverage of the Arizona audit and the cast of characters surrounding it has really been indispensable for understanding what's happening there. Mr. McDonald-Evoy, thank you very much for being with us. I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Is this exercise in Arizona over? Or it's been a little bit hard to tell. We had thought they might be wrapping up last week. It seems like maybe now they're wrapping up now?
Well, honestly, it's hard to tell. It's been very much a moving target from the get-go. When it comes to this audit, a lot of things are constantly changing when it comes to the procedures or when it's going to wrap up. I mean, earlier this year, we were told that, things would end at a certain time, but then things got extended again. We saw what happened when, the lease, we had the issues with the lease and what happened when graduations happened. And there was kind of that hubbub that happened there. So when it comes to this audit, a lot of things are always kind of up in the air. We never really quite know what's going to happen. As for us reporters here in Arizona, it always kind of keeps us on our toes of what's going to happen. But as far as we know from official channels, we've been told that it's going to be wrapping up and it has ended here soon. And they've finished the counting and they're finishing up what's called this paper examinations portion of the audit.
We have seen that it has been sort of a hallmark, or there have been these sort of repeated touchstones among those who believe in the president's conspiracy theories around the election, that the election was stolen from him or that there was some sort of fraud that nobody's been able to prove, but that was definitely there. We've seen these films happen. We saw Mike Lindell do a film and then do another film. There's definitely a whole universe of YouTube devoted to this stuff. But there was also this new film that was premiered in Arizona, in Phoenix this weekend, which seemed to have unusual access to the audit itself. I will say, reading your coverage of it today, the thing that was most surprising to me was to learn that the state Senate president and other Republican lawmakers were there. It seemed like sort of something that would be more for the diehard true believer rabble rather than for the officials that are going to have to be defending whatever the results of this audit is pretty soon.
It was a little surprising to see that there were some lawmakers there, but at the same time, it wasn't. Some of the lawmakers that were there, like Representative Mark Fincham and Sonny Borrelli, have been very involved in a lot of this, what I would call alternative media that is out there. We have a lot of that here in Arizona, this alternative media that some of it has become deplatformed or has had issues because of the election fraud issues that they've spread or the QAnon issues that they've spread. Fincham and Borrelli, they frequently appear on a lot of alt-right channels and alt-right or alternative media type QAnon channels. For example, Representative Fincham was on a channel called Red Pill, I believe 76. It's a channel that is primarily dedicated to QAnon content for the most part and has spread a lot of unfounded conspiracy theories around the Arizona audit, like saying that there was a spy plane that was sent by Biden to spy on the Arizona audit, but it was actually a Phoenix police plane that had nothing to do with the audit, was circling nowhere near the audit, but that was a show that Fincham appeared on. So for people who've been following a lot of these lawmakers very closely, it wasn't incredibly surprising to see that they did show up at this event, considering that it hit on a lot of the key fraud claims that a lot of these lawmakers have been bolstering to their supporting ranks in the past few months.
Jared, as things have gotten weirder, like those kind of allegations that you were just describing, Biden sending a spy plane, famously the hunt for bamboo fibers in the paper, the more outlandish, unbelievable, and in some cases laughable claims that have undergirded this supposed need for the audit and the things they're investigating. As things have gotten weirder and weirder, has that undercut the seriousness with which Republicans are treating this, or the anticipation in Republican circles as to what the supposed audit is going to find. I mean, usually in rationalist terms, when stuff gets weird, you expect it to appeal to a smaller base. In this case, I can't quite tell if that's happening or not in Arizona.
I think I would say, yes and no. There are, subsets of conservative belief out here in Arizona that see some of that as evidence of further wrongdoing, of further, evidence of there being, wrong, issues in the election. They see it as further evidence to support that there is, something going on, nefarious going on in the election, or something nefarious going on in, the audit or the people in the orbit of the audit. But then there are Republicans that have been coming out and saying, no, this is not right. We're seeing a lot of, misinformation and disinformation. There have been Republicans that have spoken out, like, very publicly and or the Board of Supervisors, which is mainly Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, which is mainly Republican. They've come out very strongly against that, and that has been a big sticking point between the Arizona Senate. They've been fighting back and forth between the Arizona Senate and the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, which is primarily Republican. So you do have this kind of divide between certain types of Republicans within the state who no matter what happens, they see it as some sort of evidence towards more fraud, or you have the others that are kind of saying enough is enough with some of this stuff.
It does feel like at times a little bit of something that tends toward mass hysteria, this idea that any countervailing evidence is just more evidence for how right you are. I will tell you, just covering this from the outside, I do find your work and the work of your colleagues at the Mirror and Arizona Republic and some other outlets to have been incredibly valuable. I also know that you guys have been working triple time in order to keep the country informed as to what's been going on there, and it has been hard to follow, and it's a challenge. So I just want to thank you and commend you and the Mirror and all your colleagues for doing all this hard work, Jared. It's the country needs you, and you guys have been doing great work.
I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
All right. Jared McDonald-Evoy is a reporter at the Arizona Mirror. Again, I will say, part of me doesn't even want to anticipate, let alone sort of talk about the fact that there's going to be some results announced about the Arizona audit, because, I mean, they've been there, basically playing with toe jam for all these weeks. And we don't know, there's no reason to believe that there's going to be any actual information, anything real that comes out of this audit. However, we have to pay attention to that just as a benchmark for the country, because when they come out and they inevitably say, oh, yeah, it was the Chinese and the aliens and the people out to get Mike Flynn that all rigged the election for Trump, it's going to have an impact in Trump world, because Trump voters, Trump supporters, and certainly people around the president himself want to believe that there was something wrong with the 2020 election, and whatever comes out of this garbage process in Arizona will be seized on to start a whole new chapter and them trying to sell the country on the fact that Joe Biden wasn't legitimately elected. Having to pay attention to this is both infuriating and sort of enervating, but also, I think, prudent, because this is not getting any less nuts over time.